Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Rita Roy, CEO of the National Spine Health Foundation, and I'm your host for the Get Back to It podcast, where we tell real stories of healing and recovery. What does it mean to get back to it? It means overcoming a spine problem through treatments that work in order to return to the people and activities you love, whatever that looks like for you. It means getting back to your life. We're here to share the success stories of those who did just that. And some of these stories you're not going to believe. At the Get Back to It podcast, our goal is to tell stories of spinal champions who've been able to achieve a better quality of life through spinal healthcare. Today's guest is Meredith Montana of New York City, a dancer whose spinal journey is as powerful as her performances. At a young age, she was diagnosed with scoliosis, a condition that soon threatened not only her health, but her future on stage. Determined not to give up her passion, Meredith explored non-surgical options before ultimately undergoing a 15-level spinal fusion. Her recovery was rough, but her comeback has been even stronger. Today, she's dancing on some of the biggest stages and using her story to inspire other scoliosis warriors to keep moving forward. Now you know what to expect. Let's twirl and leap into Meredith's story. Meredith began dancing when she was 4 years old.
My mom put me in ballet classes, and I immediately fell in love. As I continued my training, I loved the sense of freedom and the ability to express my emotions through music and movement. It has always been an emotional outlet for me. I also loved wearing the costumes, especially anything with a skirt that twirled. I continued to advance in ballet, and I was taking 3 to 4 ballet classes per week.
However, at the young age of 11, Meredith was diagnosed with scoliosis.
I don't really remember having any pain leading up to my diagnosis. It began as a mild 19-degree curve in my thoracic spine. The doctor wasn't concerned about it yet, so he recommended to just wait and see if the curve progresses.
What was originally a mild case quickly turned severe when Meredith hit a growth spurt in the 7th grade.
I want to say I grew 2 to 3 inches over the course of a year. My family is very tall, but I definitely began experiencing more back pain during that time. I now had a 68-degree curvature in my spine.
At this time, the doctors recommended surgery. Meredith's parents were extremely hesitant about pursuing this.
My parents didn't want to make that choice for me in my teen years and potentially take dancing away from me. So we never got a consultation where they estimated how big of a fusion I would have. As a ballerina, spinal flexibility is integral to the art form. Any level of fusion would be detrimental to pursuing the art form at its highest level, and I wanted to avoid that for as long as possible. My parents and I also felt very blindsided by the medical system. Because my case progressed so quickly, there was no in-between from diagnosis to recommending full spinal surgery. We were more interested in opting for a conservative treatment to give me time to process what was happening to my body.
So Meredith began bracing her spine with the Spine Core brace.
This was a series of soft straps, and it provided a lot of support while I was still able to dance. I wore it in dance class, even though I felt really self-conscious being the only one in the brace. It could be worn under clothes, but because the traditional dance uniform is tights and a leotard, the brace had to be worn on top, so there was no hiding it. Luckily, I could hide it during the school day. I wore a lot of t-shirts and sweaters to cover it. In high school, I was also in the marching band, and I lived in Georgia, so having to wear a brace in 90-degree heat for 8 hours on a football field was a special form of torture. But it did help support me and ease the pain more than anything, so I was fairly compliant in wearing it.
Meredith continued to wear her brace until she was a senior in high school.
Growing up with scoliosis and a brace during my teen years was incredibly difficult. I didn't know anybody else with scoliosis, a brace, or anyone who had gotten the surgery. I felt completely alone, and I didn't have anyone to look up to. I had friends at school, but none of them could really relate to what I was going through. And of course, I had the odd annoying comment from a classmate asking, "What is that white thing?" in reference to my brace, or "Why does your back look weird?" Middle and high school is a really tough place to be when you're the only one with this condition. For example, when I was in the 8th grade, the creative director of the ballet studio I was dancing at sat me down and essentially told me that I would not be able to progress higher in the ballet company because of my spine. At this point, my curve was nearing 70 degrees, and I was completely heartbroken. I decided at that point I wanted to change studios and focus more on other styles of dance like jazz, tap, and contemporary. I continued this training throughout high school and then transferred to a brand new studio my senior year, where the owner saw my spine and told me that it wouldn't limit me if I didn't let it. That was a really big turning point for my mentality and my approach to dance. She saw me for more than my spine, and I will never forget that. She pushed me to do competitive dance my senior year and replaced and had the best time, and I truly began to believe in myself for the first time. I definitely had pain, but I managed it with the brace and resting when I needed to.
At this time, Meredith also began Schroth therapy.
Schroth therapy is a very intense form of Scoli-specific movement. You essentially learn how to correct your curve and body as much as possible and then hold it while breathing for an extended period of time. I did a couple Schroth intensives in high school, and it was some of the hardest work that I've done. However, it has been proven to be extremely beneficial both pre- and post-fusion for combating pain and promoting stability in my scoliotic body. I definitely don't hate Schroth by any means, but it is very difficult and not necessarily fun. Of course, it's the hardest things that tend to be the most beneficial.
Despite Meredith's efforts to fight her scoliosis with non-surgical treatments, at 21 years old, she began to seriously consider surgery.
I went on to major in musical theater at Bravery University, finding that is by far my favorite form of dance. I love storytelling, I love the emotion you're able to convey, and I love the whimsical nature of musicals. In my junior year of college, I was cast as Dream Laurie in Oklahoma the Musical. This musical required me to do a 14-minute ballet sequence that is no joke. During the rehearsal process, I started having a lot more pain and found I was fatiguing really quickly. After the 2-week run of the show, I knew it was time to start looking into surgeons. I was also struggling to have the energy and stamina for dance classes and other movement-based things in my college curriculum. I was waiting tables at that time, and I could hardly get through a 5 to 6 hour shift without extreme pain.
Meredith decided to pursue care with Dr. Dennis DeVito of Children's Healthcare of Atlanta.
Truthfully, I don't remember a lot about my very first meeting with Dr. DeVito. I want to say he originally told me that he would be fusing T1 to L1. I didn't really have a reference for what that meant at the time, so I was okay with that. In the months leading up to the surgery, of course, I was increasingly nervous, but I didn't have any idea what to expect on the other side of the surgery. It really felt like stepping out into the great unknown. I didn't have an opportunity to speak with anyone else who had gotten the surgery. In some ways, it was a good thing because I didn't really consider what could go wrong, but in a lot of ways, I felt totally unprepared for how mentally challenging the surgery could be in the early recovery days. I had my surgery at 21 at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, so they made an exception for me to be treated at that hospital. I felt welcomed and supported by the staff the entire time. Dr. DeVito did not have me do any sort of physical therapy or anything leading up to the surgery, likely because he knew I was a dancer and already had a lot of strength built into my body. He told me that he thought I would recover very quickly because of my dance training and flexibility.
Meredith and Dr. DeVito planned her surgery for May 4th, 2015, so that she would have the maximum amount of time to recover over the summer before returning to school in the fall for her senior year of college. Dr. DeVito never made her feel like getting the surgery was the end of her dance career. Meredith had high hopes of taking her time to recover and then finding her way back to dance in whatever way was possible for her body.
I underwent a 15-level spinal fusion from T1 to L3. They placed 24 screws and 2 rods in my spine. Surgery was very difficult. Waking up was one of the most painful experiences of my life, but my first question was, how tall am I? Because at the time, I wanted to be a Radio City Rockette more than anything, and I didn't want to be taller than their height limit of 5'10 and a half. Thankfully, I only grew 2 inches during the surgery, which meant I now stood at a lofty 5'10". They have you stand up and walk around a mere 24 hours after the surgery. I think anyone else who has had the surgery can attest that it is genuinely the hardest part of post-op. I stayed in the hospital for 4 days after surgery, and then I was discharged to recover at home. The first 3 weeks were absolutely the hardest weeks of my life. When you have the surgery, you essentially lose your independence for the initial recovery period. I had to be helped in and out of bed, to the bathroom, and if I wanted to go anywhere else in the house. My mom was my rock during that time. There were nights she literally slept in the bed with me to hold pillows in place so that I would be more comfortable. About 2 weeks in, I remember having a full breakdown about how unfair everything felt. It was unfair that I had to get the surgery, it was unfair that I had scoliosis, and it was unfair that I had to spend my summer at 21 years old in bed, relying on my mom to take me to the bathroom while all of my friends were out drinking for the first time and celebrating. Thankfully, around week 3, things started to get a lot better. I was able to get out of bed and on my own again, and a sense of independence, and I started noticing my pain decrease dramatically. My mental health also improved dramatically when I started noticing that clothes fit better and my energy was increasing day by day. By 3 months in, the doctor let me do some very light exercise at the ballet bar, no jumping, of course. But I felt good enough to go out with my friends, and I felt like I was a part of my own life again.
Meredith had to take a 6-month pause from dancing to recover, but she was back on stage by Christmas for her university's Christmas cabaret. She choreographed and performed a number with a close friend.
About 1 year after my surgery, I graduated from Brunel University. I moved to New York City about a month after graduation to pursue a career in the performing arts. I got picked up by an event entertainment company for dancing pretty soon after I moved, and they offered to teach me how to stilt walk. I figured it would be fun, so I did, and it quickly became one of my main sources of income. I've since networked into many exciting opportunities, and I am now a full-time freelance performing artist. In the last few years, I have danced for Cher in the 2023 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, walked in New York Fashion Week, and stilt walked for an Apple Plus TV show, among many other fun events. My overall scoliosis pain has reduced a lot, and I utilize monthly maintenance like massage, chiropractic work, and physical therapy to stay mostly pain-free. It is my hope to provide strength and inspiration for the scoliosis warriors with big dreams following behind me.
Wow, Meredith. Oh my gosh. What a story.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I am so excited to be talking to you today. And I just can't even believe the story is just absolutely incredible. It's just, your strength, your perseverance, your grit, your determination, sharing your vulnerability with us and our audience here. I'm so grateful that you're doing this with us, and you're
thank you so much
telling your story. I mean, I'm looking at you. I just see this gorgeous young girl who's a dancer, who's healthy, and felt like you would never know what you've been through. And I find myself, saying that sometimes when I meet people who've been through the scoliosis thing and just are determined to not let it slow you down at all. And it's amazing. There's so many things in your story that I want to talk more about.
Yes, thank you so much.
We started out, we hopped on this call today, and you said, oh yeah, I had to do a stilt walking thing at, my call time was 6 a.m. this morning. And I just was like, what? What is that even? Oh my gosh. How do you even get on those things? And
yes,
and you're
quite a life.
Oh my gosh. So what's it like? So you're almost 10 years out from your surgery now, right?
Yeah. I just actually had my 10-year spine-anniversary May 4th. So
Yay!
it was exciting. It was the fastest 10 years of my life.
Yeah. So much happened. Well, you were still in college when you had your surgery.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm just struck with here that we glossed over kind of quickly as we're getting through your story, just that journey from being a young girl, being told you have this problem, you have to wear that brace, and it's yucky. I'm just imagining that. I'm imagining the marching band. I don't know what instrument you played or drumline or whatever you
Saxophone.
Yeah,
saxophone.
It's heavy. And the brace and those wool uniforms.
It has a neck strap too, so it pulls the neck down too. It was bad. Like I should not have been playing the alto saxophone. But I loved it. It was I would never pick any other instrument. I loved playing, and Yeah, but it was also that in addition to with the brace that I wore, there was under layers and then the brace and then clothing over
And the
layers on
clothing. And
top.
those marching band uniforms are like nylon and wool and yeah, special kind of torture, as you say. But
yes.
But interestingly, saxophone is actually really good exercise for lung capacity, which is something that gets compromised as those curves are setting in. So
definitely
you're actually helping yourself in so many ways that maybe you didn't even think about
absolutely
doing that.
Yeah.
And so in doing those activities, you sort of described that while the brace was just so uncomfortable and kind of embarrassing, it actually helped with pain, right?
It did. Yeah. So it did make it worth it to me to wear, especially as a teenager. It was kind of like, eye roll. I don't want to wear it, but at the same time, I was like, I'm going to feel better if I do. So I was fairly compliant with it. And my parents were also very understanding on days if I needed a break and that kind of thing. And thankfully I did have a lot of supportive friends during high school too. So I really lucked out overall.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And, you talk about this journey from classical ballet training and transitioning to musical theater. I think there's actually a musical about, chorus line, right? Talks about people like making that transition from ballet to musical theater.
Yes.
That's a tough transition for some people. And, you were at such a young age to be pouring so much of your heart and soul into classical ballet training and then to have that tough conversation. What was that like for you at that time?
Yeah, it was really, really tough. And it took me several years to kind of come to terms with the reality that ballet at like a really high level with the fusion is just, it's going to be really tough depending on the size of the fusion. I won't say it's impossible. I hope someday that there's a girl out there who gets to have a smaller fusion and gets to go on to have a ballet career, but that is not my experience with the severity of my curve.
Right.
So after we had that conversation with the creative director, I didn't want to stop dancing. Obviously, it was just, it's such in my heart and soul. And my mom was like, what if we try other styles? So we found a different studio in the area. And then I kind of realized how much fun I had doing jazz and tap, and I got to like show my personality a little bit more. And also I'm such a show tune girly. I love the show tunes. So once I started hearing some musical theater bops, I was like, oh, this is actually, I think I almost like this better. So it definitely has become my main love. I still love ballet, of course, but going on to major in musical theater was definitely the right move for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. All those years of dancing, it especially, you think of all the athletics that kids can do when they're young, but dance in particular is very focused on flexibility, extension, alignment, and core strength. And all of that stuff that you were doing was helping your body again.
I always, like, every time that I talk about dance and my experience with dance, I always say that dance saved me in so many ways, like not just emotionally, not just in that sense of like having an emotional outlet, but also physically, because there's so many aspects of dance that naturally combat what scoliosis does to your body. There's a lot of information coming out now about scoliosis patients have poor spatial awareness, and all of dancing is learning where your body is in space. And also like learning to elongate in ballet is a huge part of scoliosis Schroth training. So there's a lot of things that it was almost like we were treating it without realizing we were treating it.
Right.
In addition to the emotional outlet, I truly believe dance is one of the best things you can do when you have scoliosis. So
that's incredible.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's amazing. And so, again, just all those years of being fit in that special way, having that alignment and balance and extension and all those things that you do in dance, in an unpredictable way, unintended consequence kind of way, prepared you for that moment when you got to be 21 years old and your surgeon is looking at you and saying, yeah, we don't need to prehab. You've been prehabbing your entire life.
Basically. It's so true. It was a good feeling knowing that all of that did pay off in a big way and was very helpful. And then to continue after surgery, be able to continue after surgery was amazing as well.
Yeah. And to be able to bounce back. I mean, those first couple of weeks, very difficult, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
But then when you look back on it, you're like, you know what? 3 weeks is just not a long time in the scheme of things.
It's so true.
And to be up and going and moving and progressing and never looking back. I mean, there was never, it was always forward movement, forward momentum, forward recovery. That's
Absolutely.
Just awesome.
Thank you.
I want to touch a little bit about something that you mentioned in your story about your family feeling a little blindsided by the healthcare system. Talk to me a little bit more about that and what you mean by that.
Yeah. So we got the diagnosis when I was like 10 or 11. I don't remember specifically. But
was it your primary care doctor who diagnosed that?
It was just a routine
forward bend. Yeah.
Yep. Physical check. And they were like, oh yeah, it looks like you've got like a small 19-degree-ish curve. Like they sent us for x-rays, but again, they were like, it's under 20 degrees. Don't worry about it. We'll wait and see. And that's always the classic. I call it the kiss of death for scoliosis because you're not monitoring. You're sort of monitoring, but with girls, we hit a growth spurt at that time. Shortly after, like 11 to 13 is when you really start growing. And again, if you come from a tall family or if your body grows quickly, things can get really bad really fast. And I know from speaking with many other school warriors, I know I'm not the only one with this story who felt blindsided by going from, oh, don't worry about it, wait and see, to, oh, by the way, you need full major spinal surgery now. Yeah. And I just wish that wait and see wasn't a thing. That shouldn't be a thing. We should just start treatment. Like once it's diagnosed, start treatment.
Well, that's one of the things that we are so passionate about doing here at the National Spine Health Foundation is getting your voice out there, right? And connecting patients to patients so that people can share their stories and learn from each other because the healthcare system is limited, right? There are just limitations at the delivery of care and so many people work on that, but it just is what it is, right? In so many ways, it's designed to do a certain kind of thing, but there's all this other stuff in between. Informing yourself, advocating for yourself, learning, educating. And that really comes from organizations like ours that kind of fill that gap or intend to fill that gap. We partner with another organization called the Setting Scoliosis Straight Foundation.
Yes.
And we love our friends at Setting Scoliosis Straight. And they are a two-phased organization with the Harms Study Group where they're doing evidence development, research, looking at outcomes and making recommendations on the treatment for scoliosis patients.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so looking at things like, well, what is the right recommendation to tell a patient? And what is the science? How does the science inform us on how to talk to patients about these things? Yeah. And then having a platform like ours to then message it out and get it out there. So again, I'm so grateful for you to come to our podcast and to make yourself available and share your story and help others learn.
Of course,
because we've got to be partners in that healthcare journey.
It's true. It takes a village, a very, very big village to do all of that. And thank you so much for having me, for giving my story a voice as well. So.
Yeah. I think that, it's interesting when I think about scoliosis for young people. So adolescent idiopathic scoliosis, which is what it sounds like you had. It just, don't know why I got it, but I did. It does affect young girls more often than boys, right?
It does. Yes. Yeah. It's like, I think it's like 80% more common in girls. Yeah. And that's scary because that, in my opinion, that pushes it into a women's health issue and it needs to be addressed as such, you know?
Right.
We really need to be screening women like more heavily and really monitoring and paying attention because
and thinking about
it can happen so fast.
Yeah. And I just think that, for you, Meredith, along that journey, did you see a spine expert along the way or did anybody tell you to do that aside from, I guess, was it chiropractors that you were seeing or what were some of the healthcare people involved in your journey?
Yeah. So we started with the primary care. That's who diagnosed it. And then we went to an orthopedic surgeon at one point, like on the initial just consultation. And we didn't really like him. That was when my mom was like, I don't really want to go through with this right now. I just don't feel comfortable with the surgery.
So even then, early on, surgery was discussed for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was, thrown around because mine did continue to increase very quickly. When I found the spine cord brace, I was working with Dr. Deutschman. And Dr. Lamantia. I think he's scoliosis now. Okay. But I worked with both of them. They both were kind of doing some more experimental, especially for me with a case so severe. They were both very much like, here's the reality of your situation. It's very severe. So we're not going to sugarcoat anything, but we're going to do what we can to try and help as much as possible. So I worked with both of them. They're the ones I think that I really saw the most throughout my middle and high school years.
Yeah.
I did also see a chiropractor during that time. I still see a chiropractor. So yeah, there's been a lot of people along the way. I had Schroth intensives like I talked about. There's been a lot of people.
Yeah. Having that support around you is so important, and a care team that you trust and that you enjoy, because you're going to be spending time with them. And when you go to these sessions, they're giving you they're working with you, but they're also giving you techniques to do at home. Yes. And it's sort of like, okay, we're going to do our thing when we're here together. You got to go home and do your thing too. So we're part of a team, right? That's always a challenge, I think, for people. And I think, but I think young women who are dancers that are going through this, it's just something about that dancer mentality that's just very rules based, right? Like, I'm told I need to do this. I'm told I need to do this. I need to do this. I think it's a different kind of mind.
We're very mechanical, and also like we're constantly analyzing our body and learning how to use our body to create stories, create shapes, create, movement phrases. Right. So in a way, it's almost like learning a way to help manipulate your own body and help it, stand better, get stronger. And when you're diagnosed with something and facing something as scary as surgery, it's easy to kind of be motivated and be like, oh, I should probably do my exercises, or I should probably show up for PT today.
Yeah. But, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, literally body language. It's literally a language. And just like you would practice your French or German or whatever with your flashcards, and you got to go home and practice that so that you can speak. It's kind of the same is true for dance. You've got to practice that. You've got to do those exercises so that you can speak the language.
Absolutely.
And the language of movement. Yeah, that's a cool way to think about that. What do you think you would say to a young dancer who is newly diagnosed with scoliosis? What would be some of the things that you have? I know you do some of this work. You do some mentoring, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about some of that work that you do and some of the things that you share with young dancers.
Yeah. I have been so fortunate to go to HiggyCon every year. I'm very close with Higgy Bears, the organization.
Cool.
They provide little teddy bears with little scoliosis braces, and it's just so wonderful. Lauren is amazing, and she heads up all of that. So she's had me come out and speak at HiggyCon for the last 2 years, and I'm actually going back in a month. So I'm very excited for that. But just being able to be in a room with a bunch of young girls and some boys too, of course, that have scoliosis, and many, many, many of them are dancers, and just getting to share my experience with their parents, with them, and just give them a sense of like ease of mind of, this doesn't have to be the end of your story if you don't want it to be,
Yeah.
I feel like I do kind of have a worst case scenario, and I still am able to find a way to dance, and I still have been able to work around my body in a lot of ways. And just an opportunity to be a beacon of hope in that sense, because I didn't have that when I was younger. I was very much just like hoping for the best, and like I knew what I wanted. I knew that I didn't want to give it up, and
it was harder for you 10 years ago, harder to find connection, right? I mean, I think the internet is just social media, all of these platforms. Podcasts didn't really take off 10 years ago, like now, so there's so many more ways to connect. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
I've loved just chatting with parents and the girls who are like, what do you recommend for dance? And I'm able to tell them things that I didn't get to hear until I was way older. So
Yeah.
it's been really valuable just for me, almost like healing my inner child too, like knowing that I'm doing what I can to help the next generation too.
Oh, that's really beautiful. That is so awesome. I love that. I love that. I think that, I had a daughter who went through dance training growing up. And I think that, you sort of get your heart set on one form of dance, and you have to realize that there's so much in that world of expression. Right.
Yes.
And so I think many people start out in classical ballet, and that's a great place to start. It gives you so many fundamentals and whatnot. And I remember telling my daughter, every classical ballet career ends. It ends because of a foot or an ankle or a hip or something. Yep. And you don't know if it's going to end at 10 years old or 15 years old or 20 or 40. It's going to end at some, so it's just having the awareness that there are other opportunities, and it may not be exactly what you think now, but there are lots of different ways to participate. And I think that's what your story is so great at shining a light on, is just find the path. It's there.
Yes. That's how I felt about moving to New York City and finding event entertainment. I had no idea that world existed, but up here in New York City, luxury events and festivals and corporate type events are a huge thing. And I'm able to make a living as a performing artist. And it's almost even better than what I originally had envisioned, because I can choose when I work. So if I'm having a rough pain week or I'm having, a tough time, I can be like, actually, I think I should take off. Like, let's not do that gig. I'll find a cover or just not do it, So
that's awesome.
It's not like it can be overly demanding. And if I overbook myself, at least it's on me and not like the demand of a job that I signed up, like a ballet company, you know what I mean?
Company, or you're in a musical performance. That's 8 shows a week or whatever.
Yes. I do think I still would love to do that at some point, but I do think it's going to be very, very taxing if I do get to that level. So it would be a lot, and that's okay. But I am very happy where I am, and I found amazing opportunities. And exactly what you said, there's so much out there that I had no idea existed, and I'm able to perform in a way that fulfills me and also, values my body.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your current job on stilt performing? Like, I'm so fascinated by that. I just don't know anything about that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of like an under sort of industry. We do a lot of bar and bat mitzvah parties. And when I say that, I don't want you to think like tiny children's birthday party. These things are like $1 million affairs. Like, it's crazy, these parties. So we're, they have us come in and we'll be like reading in like these crazy costumes.
Wow.
I do like showgirling work, as well as like there's dance related ones. I did one bat mitzvah where it was Barbie themed. And they built a huge Barbie dream house in the venue. And then I got cast as Barbie. Oh. So we did a choreographed dance number.
On stilts?
No, not on stilts. This was on the
just
ground.
Performing. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
this was just regular dance.
Okay.
But I got to be the lead in that. And it was like it was basically an imitation of the movie scene where she's like,
oh my gosh,
dancing and doing the go-go disco night.
Yeah. Oh my
so
gosh.
It was so much fun. And it's like, it's such a valid way to perform, and it still counts. Like, it's all performing. It's all still. Yeah. Like it's easy for people to be like, oh, well, like, I haven't heard of anything that you've been in. And it's like, well, I'm still making a living being an artist. And that really is the whole point at the end of the day.
Right.
So a lot of these events, it's just freelancing. Think like live entertainers. I work with a lot of aerialists, a lot of circus artists.
Wow.
So it's just, we're like the spectacle. We come in and we give the wow factor to a lot of big events. So we'll also do parades, festivals, all kinds of things.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to get myself invited to one of these things so I can see you there. Well, I think what's the expression that they say that when you're a dancer or performer, you perform to express, not to impress. But it sounds like, a little bit of the things that you're doing are doing both of those things, like impressing with the wow factor and also expressive in the movement and connecting to whatever audience is there and
absolutely
conveying that's just That's just awesome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Meredith, so we're winding down here in this conversation. You have an Instagram account called Bionic Ballerina.
Yes.
How'd you come up with that name?
I think one of my friends came up with it, to be honest.
It's great.
One of my dance teachers at the time.
Cool.
I don't feel like I came up with that. And yeah, I fell in love with it. Somebody said it and I was like, that's cool. I'm keeping that.
I love it. And
it's just become it's also become a nickname. Some people just will refer to me as Bionic Ballerina and I will respond to it. So.
That's really
but yeah,
fun.
I love that it pays homage to where I came from and my first love and and my fusion. So.
Yeah, I do love that. I do love it because there's so much in that name, Bionic Ballerina. How can you be that? Because you think of ballet as just ultimate fluidity and bionics wouldn't, but it's like, there's a story here.
Yeah,
check
absolutely.
it out. So I love it. I think it's awesome. I'm so inspired by that. And I know so many others are as well. Just sort of in closing, just, a sort of a tip of the hat to your mom and your family supporting you on this journey. I think that's such an important thing for so many people to understand that getting through these spine journeys takes a support system, whatever support, whatever, sort of love and support is around you. And, I think, not only I was so touched in your story where you shared about your mom physically laying in bed with you and supporting you with those pillows and what a metaphor that is for your mental health as well.
It really was. Yeah. She truly was my rock through all of that. I'm so grateful. I'm so lucky to have her.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure that for the listeners out there thinking about, who is it in your tribe, in your community that's going to be your support person, they're there and you need them. And you can celebrate them when you're on the other side of it. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yes. We still talk about how happy we are that we don't have to do that ever again. She always is like, May always just reminds me of when we were in the trenches, but I'm so glad we got through it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, June, every year, June is Scoliosis Awareness Month. And so, it's kind of fun to think like, okay, every May is your thing. And, June is the celebration month, anniversary date. And looking forward.
Celebration.
Celebration. Meredith, is there any closing comments or words of wisdom you'd like to share with our audience today?
I think my biggest encouragement just to the general scoliosis community is to not give up on your dreams. I think that there's a way if you want it bad enough and you want it, there's always a way to find maybe a different path than you traditionally expected or, envisioned for yourself. But I think it's possible. Don't let scoliosis hold you back.
I love it. That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, again, Meredith, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for sharing your incredible journey with us, your resilience, your grace, your commitment, commitment to your passion, to pursuing your career are really, really, really just inspiring. And not just for dancers, but really for anybody facing their own uphill battle. You are living proof that a diagnosis does not have to define your destiny. At the National Spine Health Foundation, something we believe in most is providing hope for recovery through sharing stories of success and expertise. It isn't always easy to find someone to relate to, even though 100 million people suffer from neck or low back problems each year. To hear more stories of spinal champion recovery and access educational materials about spine health, visit us at spinehealth.org. If you're interested in supporting our show financially, you can contribute at the link provided. Thank you for listening.